If you've watched any of our other videos about flight attendants, you know that there is a lot more to the job than handing out snacks and waving as you walk off the plane. If you ever wondered what it takes to be a flight attendant, you might be surprised by some of the strange requirements of the job. Love watching our videos but looking for a more ad-free browsing experience? Take your video viewing to the next level and sign up for the Premium Network. You'll get the first peek at the newest content from not only TheRichest, but Screen Rant, The Taco, The Sportster, The Things, and many more. Thousands of your favorite videos in one place is a no-brainer. Click here to be the first in line for the premium. One requirement for getting the latest, greatest videos from TheRichest is subscribing to our channel and pressing the notification button. Bikini Contest. This seems more like something you would see on an episode of America's Next Top Model than an important part of the flight attendant hiring process. Finding new employees can be tough, so China Southern Airlines decided to contact a modeling agency in order to recruit some new talent. Over 100 women took part in this bikini contest held in Qingdao, China. In China, flight attendant jobs are revered and there is fierce competition for these coveted roles. This means that Chinese airline companies can have all sorts of strange criteria since their jobs are in demand. Participants in the bikini contest had to be no older than 25 years old, have no visible scars, possess a sweet voice, and be elegant and slim. They are also expected to be at least 5 feet 6 inches, but the airline generously considered those who were 5 feet 5 inches if they were attractive enough. In addition to parading around in their bikinis, these girls posed in formal flight attendant garb to show off how they would look in their new position. But don't worry, just like all beauty shows, there was a talent portion as well. Carry on. Some airlines have requirements that flight attendants must be a certain height or have certain length arms in case they need to help passengers stow their carry-on. While this doesn't sound completely unreasonable, Kunming Airlines in China prefers to treat its female flight attendants as the carry-on. If you've ever struggled to put your bag in the overhead bin while on a flight, just imagine having to put yourself in one. That was the reality for new flight attendants on Kunming Airlines in a bizarre hazing ritual that lasted over 5 years before it was finally stopped. After making it through their first 30 to 50 hours of flight service, new female flight attendants would have to pass their final test, being forced into the overhead compartment by their male colleague, who would even go as far as to close the door on them. If you were to resist this bizarre and horrifying treatment, you would be labeled uncooperative. Finally, photos of this hazing went viral, and many people were outraged by what these women were being subjected to. The airline apologized for the incident in an effort to save face, stating that they did not condone the treatment. They vowed to discipline anyone involved in this and put an end to it. While that is good to hear, the fact is that these women had been reporting this for years, and Kunming Airlines chose not to react until it was finally brought to public attention. Kung Fu. Sometimes part of being a flight attendant means dealing with unruly passengers. To make that part of their employees' jobs a little easier, Hong Kong Airlines decided to teach their cabin crew a little bit of Kung Fu. As part of their training, flight attendants are required to learn the art of Wing Chun, the Kung Fu style practiced by martial arts legends Bruce Lee and Yip Man. This particular discipline is characterized by its sharp movements, making it ideal for close-range combat. When you are short on space in the cabin of an airplane, this style lets you do a lot of damage very quickly, regardless of space restrictions. It may seem like a strange requirement, but many flight attendants report that it has actually been quite helpful. One woman had to attend to a male passenger who was so drunk he had made himself sick. She noted that the strength she had gained in her training helped maneuver him more easily than she otherwise would have been able to. Crew members claim that it helps them feel more confident in their ability to do their jobs as well. Singapore girls. All flight attendants undergo vigorous training before they can finally take to the skies, but to work for Singapore Airlines, you'll need to go through a 15-week training course, the longest in the industry. Even your uniform is more confining than that of most other airlines, and you'll be expected to move expertly in your long, figure-hugging sarong. During training, you'll learn how to slide down an emergency slide in your restrictive uniform in the classiest way possible. If you're a man, however, you'll be able to wear a much more practical suit. As a woman, you'll learn to keep your hair in one of 3 allowed hairstyles: bob, bun, and French twist. All Singapore girls should wear plum lipstick, and their makeup should be applied immaculately. If you're a man working on board Singapore Airlines, you don't get a free pass on this training day. Men are expected to know just as much about makeup as women, so that they can let their female coworkers know if they need to fix something. Jungle training. Flight attendants are trained to respond to a lot of worst-case scenarios, including hijacking, untimely landings, and ending up in water. However, you may not consider being trapped in a jungle something that most flight attendants have to worry about, but those who work for TAM Airlines in South America are trained for this extreme scenario. During their flight attendant training, there is an Amazon survival portion, and it's a hands-on course conducted in the wild behind the training center. Flight attendants will learn how to use debris to create a makeshift bathroom, because definitely the worst thing about being lost in the jungle is not having a proper toilet. They will also practice using flare guns to signal for help. An important part of the outdoor training is an incredibly difficult maze that trainees must work as a team to complete. The maze is housed in a dark building filled with smoke, and to make matters worse, you are expected to find a dummy representing a passenger and get him safely out of the maze. So if you fly TAM, know that if you get trapped in a smoky maze in the jungle, your flight attendant has your back. It's time for our in-flight trivia question. There are many illustrious flight attendants, both past and present, but only one has the distinction of being the first. Who was the very first flight attendant, and what disaster did he manage to survive? Keep watching for the answer. QATAR Airways. Being a flight attendant requires a lot of training, time spent away from home, and long hours on your feet. This makes it difficult to have much of a social or family life, and working for QATAR Airways in particular makes it even harder. To be hired on as a flight attendant as a woman, you need to be single. After you start working, you are expected to remain single for 5 years, and if you want to get married during that time, you must ask and be granted permission from your employer. If you somehow find yourself pregnant while working for QATAR Airways, you are expected to inform them immediately so that they can fire you. Flying at most stages of pregnancy isn't recommended, but many airlines will find work for flight attendants to do on the ground during this time, but not QATAR Airways. So if you would like to get married and have a family, you won't last long at QATAR Airways, at least if you're a woman. Being a spinster is a pretty strange job requirement, and asking your boss if you can tie the knot is something most of us can't comprehend. Iron women. In the world of flight attendants, some of the most elite and well-trained are best known as the Iron Women. These brave warriors of the sky have trained at the Chengdu East Airlines Travel College in Chengdu, China. To be a flight safety officer here, you must go above and beyond what most other airlines would require. This includes mastering the art of hand-to-hand combat, studying military-grade martial arts, and of course survival training just in case the plane crashes somewhere far from civilization. When you board your flight, you could easily mistake an Iron Woman for an ordinary flight attendant, and she smiles and conducts herself with the utmost grace. But rest assured that if something goes wrong, she will be the first to act. One big part of their job is responding to potential threats as quickly as possible, which means a large component of their training is focused on identifying threats. They also hone their reaction speeds to be lightning fast so that they can put down any potential threats swiftly before harm is done. These Iron Women are the best of the best, and they've gone through a lot of training and hard work to keep you safe in the skies. Physical restrictions. Regardless of what airline you're working for, most have some sort of physical requirements for their flight attendants. In general, they are expected to stand between 5 feet 2 inches and 6 feet 2 inches in height. This means that they will be tall enough to complete everything required of them, but not so tall that navigating throughout the cabin is bothersome. Many airlines require a specific arm reach, requiring that they can reach at least 210 centimeters without their shoes on. British Airways requires its flight attendants to have a vertical function reach of 6 feet 7 inches. This means that when you stand with your bare feet flat on the floor and extend your dominant arm fully over your head, it should measure at least 6 feet 7 inches from floor first. Most airlines require flight attendants to have a certain BMI as well. One year, Air India warned 600 members of its 3,500-person crew to lose weight within 6 months, or else they would potentially lose their jobs because of their BMIs. Some airlines don't even use the formula to calculate your body mass index and simply require that you are subjectively height and weight appropriate. Aesthetics. Most jobs require some sort of dress code and basic grooming requirements, but flight attendants are subjected to even more strict regulations regarding how they groom themselves and what they can wear. American Airlines states that there must be no noticeable hair in the nostrils or on your underarms if you work for them. That's pretty basic, but some airlines take it a step further. Hawaiian Airlines requires the length of your fingernails to be under 1/8 of an inch beyond your fingertip. We bet getting your fingernails measured at work is a strange experience. United Airlines is very anti-facial hair and refuses refuses to allow most styles of facial hair completely. If you do have a mustache, it can't extend more than a quarter-inch below the sides of your mouth. Since you can't hide your skin behind a huge beard, Jet Airways requires that you have skin clear of scars and blemishes. Needless to say, tattoos are out of the question if they're anywhere like your wrists or feet where they would be visible. There are strict rules about jewelry, and many airlines require the women to wear tasteful makeup and adhere to certain color specifications. Perfect posture. Flight attendants can make smiling and having perfect posture look effortless, but the truth is that it's usually the result of long and arduous training. At the College of Civil Aviation in Chengdu, China, one flight attendant training course has a seriously advanced etiquette section where applicants learn to properly shake hands, walk, and even crouch in the most dignified way possible. They start out balancing books on their head to keep their back straight and their chins up, but eventually graduate to balancing wine bottles on their heads, all while smiling, of course. To get that perfect smile, a chopstick is often clenched between their teeth. A sheet of paper is slipped between their knees to make sure they are standing straight with their knees in the right position. It's a delicate balancing act that the flight attendants are required to maintain for at least 3 minutes, and they balance all sorts of different things on their heads as well, such as magazines and bottles. It might seem strange, but apparently it works wonders. Crouching may seem like something simple that we all have to do, but it's made more complicated by their restrictive uniform skirts, making it an essential part of training. A German man named Heinrich Kubis was dubbed the world's first flight attendant in 1912. He attended to passengers aboard a Zeppelin, including the famous Hindenburg, which ended up going down in flames. Miraculously, Kubis survived by leaping out a window when the Zeppelin neared the ground. Do you think you have what it takes to make it as a flight attendant? Could you complete survival training or learn a new martial art? If not, you can still get tons of information about what it's like to be high in the sky by just checking out more videos from The Richest. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.